So, hello, good evening, and we are starting with another round of writing workshop. So, just testing. Okay, great. So this is, I think, the 12th writing workshop to write my novel from the scratch to a published novel, starting from some ideas I had years ago with some first draft. But I restarted the project a few weeks ago, starting with keyword research, marketing research, what kind of novel it is. I also, in the last year, I worked on a game and did a lot of research in that regard. So a lot is ready in terms of research, in terms of preparation. We already did an outline. We discussed the individual characters, their inner plot, their exterior plot. We have managed to create different chapters and sort out the plot into different chapters with cliffhangers. Of course, what is still missing is the actual book, so the actual text, but the framework is there. Another thing that is missing, some ideas I had that I put together, and that's something we will continue today, as well as I would like to write out a few text paragraphs that could be actually used, but that are mainly just a background. For example, last time we discussed TV ads that show up in the world, and the idea would be, okay, the protagonist looks on the TV or on the screen and then sees the ad rolling, and that could be a paragraph that we could just use as a basically a filler, but a way of characterizing the world. Because basically the world, the protagonist, and the person that is helping her, and maybe some other persons, they all need a characterization so that the reader knows, okay, that's what it is about. Okay. So I'd say we start with the yeah, let's start where we left off last time, and that was the TV ads or the ads in general. So the TV ads in the world, in the futuristic world, are narrated or come from the leaders of the 8 mega organizations, I call them. I mean, mega corporations or mega organizations, all the same. And they, in the game I'm writing, they serve, of course, to characterize the different mega organizations, and in the book, of course, they characterize also the world. Okay, for example, here she's back on Earth, and we have a number of different ads or newsletters, blog entries, interviews that could be shown on TV, etc., or some references here. And I mean, it is a futuristic world, so we can't say, well, she or the protagonist doesn't watch any TV, or so she's so important she doesn't watch any TV. So of course she does watch, and maybe while riding the train, she's faced with advertisement. I mean, like, it is similar today. I mean, there's no significant difference. I mean, if you, for example, a recent example that I watched, I mean, for example, in Total Recall, there's an ad running while he's driving, riding the train about visiting Mars, of course. I mean, that is directly part of the story. The challenge is, of course, can we write those individual paragraphs, or can we, or do we really need to intertwine it with the story? So we'll just quickly go through it and see if we can use it somewhere. I mean, the challenge is, of course, not for everything there will be an ad showing up and then she takes the technology or so. Usually the ad also runs only if the technology is new. So that is also a challenge. So, I mean, while the idea is good to just use those little things, I mean, if you look at a different game, just show that's from Android Netrunner. Well, that's in German, but it doesn't matter. They also have like those little texts adding some characterization. For example, this one. No, well, that doesn't work. So here, well, that's a little bit, yeah, it's a bit small. So they have some rules on those cards, but also some sentence. I don't know. I will serve you at least for now, or something like that. I mean, they just add a little bit of character or some insight or some, well, not explanation, but at least some immersion in the topic. I don't know. For example, there's a corporations. You play corporation in that card game, and it says here the human note. So there's always a characterization of those cards. And I mean, I took the same idea. There's also in other games where they just add some sort of quote or something like that. But it is, of course, challenging to just, I mean, it won't work to just copy it one as a carbon copy into the book. Okay, we have, well, let's just see if we find something that we could use as a start. Okay, for example, I mean, here there's some shocking news on the television, and that is the whole conflict about where they here where Solar Plus attempts to create a World Climate Council, and basically their opposing faction declares war against them. So this could be something. Here we have sorted it after she gets her implant, and maybe we put it really in front here. So let's just copy it over there. So those are basically in the game. Those are basically not like ads, but commentaries by the leaders of those factions, and those could be one side declaring, okay, they're now serious. They shut down, I don't know, shut down industries or something like that, and while the other one, okay, they will redouble their efforts and actively wage war against countries that shut down the industries and take over their manufacturing. I mean, you can imagine in a globalized world, if, for example, Taiwan shut down their chip industry, then it would affect the whole world. In that case, some other country would be inclined to conquer it, although with high tech it is a little bit difficult. I mean, you can't force people to think. So that is a little bit challenging. But okay, But we're looking actually for ads. So here she receives that brain implant, and maybe that is a thing. Where do I have it here? The mind transfer. So at some point she will get to know or read something about it, that she to get a brain implant. So maybe the first application. I mean, that is why I put here basically the partisans at the forefront. The first application I thought was, okay, they're actually waging war. They have people on the front lines, but they maybe are lacking experts. So instead of sending the small number of experts to the dangerous front line, the individual soldier connects through that implant to that experts, simply to transfer knowledge. So that would be a way. But this very chapter, I mean, this one and the next two, they will be tough to do, especially from the cinematic point of view, because it is a lot about the internal ongoings, how she feels, how she experienced the whole thing. So maybe here's an opportunity to describe the implant from an external point of view, from for example, from a TV report. And of course, TV reports are to a degree exposition. I mean, like the same way you would watch an advertisement. I mean, you are educated. I mean, it's not a normal conversation you have with your television or your computer, but it's a one-way conversation where the advertisement gives you exposition. So it's a little bit a trick that same way as if she would in the novel read another novel where the exposition is actually B. So it's a little bit of a cop out here. But let's just try it here. So I'm not the best writer when it comes to spontaneous writing a good paragraph. I'm more focused on organization and then editing a lot. But let's see. Okay, so this is simply a monthly battle report. So this is something that is on the news. So this is something she will read about or see on the news. And maybe this is really a news reporter or a news reporter that is embedded in the front line in the basically media war to convince that they're fighting the good fight. And they're interviewing a soldier. And maybe this is a general statement from, I don't know, a sergeant or so, explaining the technology. And then they're also interviewing a soldier, and that is the first time the reader will hear about the technology, about the experience. And maybe at this point, usually you have novels where you have a setup and later a payoff. And the question is how far you do the whole thing, how much time should go between the setup and the payoff. I mean, should there like many chapters, or should she see the ad and say, okay, I go to the doctor or something like that? Okay, so already have, okay, there's an interview, I don't know, with a sergeant. This is also an opportunity to characterize the independent peace forces, as they call themselves, and their goals. What kind of people are they? Are they like badly equipped? Are they? Can they speak openly? Is there a clear hierarchy with just the commander and everyone else is just cannon fodder, or are are they really independent? So maybe the show that they are not very hierarchical, as opposed to their opponent. So their opponent in this case is CET Inc. That is basically a military alliance of Russia and China. So, and there could be an interview with a soldier who talks about the experience of using the brain implant. So, and the question is, how do we want to have that first experience? So basically, the idea of the brain implant is really that it acts. It doesn't completely take you over, and then you're becoming unconscious, but that your consciousness takes a step back, basically. The protagonist is a scientist, basically, but maybe the soldier isn't. So this is a first opportunity to explain it maybe in lay terms. So he won't explain some things with brain areas or something like that, but just his personal experience. So this could be an option to put it into lay terms. And of course, this also gives an undertone. Maybe we'll also put that, provide an undertone of war. Like it's an ongoing skirmish, maybe not an open, firing nuclear missiles or so against each other, but it is a skirmish, a war. And there maybe also a little bit shock the reader that it is not like peaceful Earth and she just goes on her space missions and finds something, but there's a real conflict going on, and the conflict seems to be expanding. I mean, those were the first two factions that really go or start a war. But there's trouble brewing also in other areas, and that is or use this TV program also as an undertone of war. Another advantage is these characters, we don't have to introduce them long and come back to them or so. They are just in that regard a canvas to really deliver that feeling how it's going on. So but all this is a TV program, and in that TV program we describe the implant, the characterization, and how they and how they describe the technology. So there's also the question about the severance operation. So this is something different. This is more focused on work, meaning this is more about productivity. I don't think it helps. Well, it might be something. For example, it could also relate to exercise. So you could just have if basically your body programmed on exercise 1 hour and then switch on again your consciousness or something like that. But I want to just leave that as an idea. I'm not sure yet. Augmented reality, I mean, she could walk around with glasses or something like that, but let's leave that also as well. Automated factory, we could just mention it somewhere, but again, it's not like a political commentary. The question is, where does she see a or read a book? I mean, this is basically a book. So the opponent of Automated Factory is Cybernetics Inc., who basically says, okay, we can't have like individual people control all the robots and automated industry because they will basically eventually rule over us. So they say we have to become machines or part machines themselves. So then another thing is personalized medicine. This is something we could integrate into the talk she has with the doctor. So here, I mean, this is an ad about from the creator, or no, from this is a discussion. But again, we can't use this directly. It would be more a basically a side note. For example, the doctor looks at her genetic chart, runs an analysis, and then reports back to her. I mean, this is not this has to be written a little bit different. I'm just paraphrasing here. Okay, your genetic profile looks good. The brain implant will be compatible with you with small adjustments to your genetic profile or your genetics. And maybe you won't be needing any medication or something like that. So maybe they're that advanced that it can be just grafted on your skin or directly implanted. Of course, this is we could, I mean, where does the genetic profile come from? We could add a little bit of a side story. I mean, that she already had this done as a child or something like that. Question is, what does it really add? I mean, it would be if we want to use the novel as a way to suggest, okay, hey, this would be a cool technology in the future. So this would be this would be the motivation. I mean, it wouldn't really deliver the plot. It would be more like, hey, it's a science fiction story, so our task is also to discuss a certain technologies, and it is certainly a little bit of a criticism of the current health system that is more focused on, okay, we had 20,000 participants in the study, it will work for you, and more directed into, okay, we have that specific medical treatment, and now we'll check it with your genetics, and if your genetics fit, then we can apply it. So the motivation of this paragraph would be to explain personalized medicine to the reader. And I mean, the quote I used is, okay, people will look back at modern medicine as barbarism, while people develop symptoms before treating them. We offer newborns a genetic analysis, paving the way for personalized diet, treatment, and medicine. So maybe he just said, or the doctor just says, your genetic profile looks good. The brain implant will be compatible. So she will be pretty short with her, and maybe she asks back, okay, will I have to take any medicine for the implant? And then the doctor will just reply, no, we will make small adjustments to the implant to align it to your genetics. You won't be needing any medication. So that alone, I mean, in this half sentence, okay, there's a way maybe in the future to easily do this and have no special need for that. Of course, there's more. Just leave it. More here. I mean, there will be a lot of discussion. Okay, how the brain implant works, etc. We have a part here in layman's terms, lay terms, and then later here really the expert opinion how it actually would work. Okay. Right, and somewhere we will need some sort of ad by that she can rejoin. I mean, the question is here, okay, why does she take the treatment here? So we need to we need here, yeah. So there's an employee search portal that comes up with her that she's a fit, but maybe the requirement is okay, a really confident person and and the brain implant for far space operations. So let's just add that. So there's well, also here the admission, okay, she's not that strong, and it is okay to seek help. I mean, that would be an internal thing, but also she uses the new employee search portal, and it is well, that's of course paraphrasing here. She or her attention or an job ad captures her attention again by her previous employer tomorrow, where she says, okay, she fulfills all requirements, but a confident person with a brain implant is needed for the job. And then maybe there's an ad below the, I mean, there's maybe a implant ad below the job ad where she clicks, and there's then some more exposition. And she curiously reads it. There's more exposition how this works, and that is would also give her a confident boost because it can control some some memories, or suppresses some memories, or in general can suppress certain brain areas. Because I mean, confidence in a way is that your brain is focused on one thing and not and doesn't keep on questioning yourself. I mean, you have basically different brain areas fighting for attention in your. I mean, that's part of the brain, and confidence is partly, or certain types of confidence is partly in that you're convinced of what you do is right, and maybe also your social status, etc., and that you're not keep doubting yourself. Okay. So then we have the robot army. That is also a plot point. This is will require some more explanation. So basically, what's happening? I mean, basically, what's happening? Where does it happen? That's already happening here, I think. Yeah. So we have to move this up. So basically, what's happening is that they are taking over the different factories again. I mean, they are basically, I'll just paraphrase it, Solar Plus enacts a plan to shut down industries by, I don't know, X percent. And this hits the it's the rocket industry most, maybe. So those are shut down. So Church of Tomorrow factories are shut down. Maybe there's a conflict in the UN, and the Church of Tomorrow leaves the or protests the plan. And then announces to retake the factories together with an army of robots. So basically, you have the two factions here. The one faction wants to simplify, or it's a group of factions, 4 different factions. They want to simplify life with the help of machines, of robots, and the other ones to basically improve humanity and not rely on robots. So those are the two factions. And the Church of Tomorrow wants basically purity. They want to keep humans as they are and use robots to help them in the plan. So and here we can basically then describe the automated factory, how they work, then the robot army that they're using, and here maybe the criticism, and we can do here a whole UN debate where you really the first time see the 8 factions arguing against each other. So we have here maybe an UN debate where the 8 factions argue against each other. So you have maybe the person from Cybernetics Inc., the Incorporated, they are criticizing them anyway, the automated factories, and they're saying, hey, they're just for fun, or they're just for consumption or so, and we are as humanity we're deteriorating. So really at the UN you can do this really high philosophical discussion and really going on what path humanity should take. Okay. And then you have basically war breaking out with the Church Tomorrow saying, okay, we need to build those colony ships. We need those. factories. We need to keep them running and expand as much resources as we can. Or the other says, okay, first we can't have that dependency on robots that can't go. And the next says, okay, that is you are just wait, that's on the next page. Here they're also criticizing here the crusade of the believers who want to scrap Earth for resources to build a ship to the stars has left humanity in ruins. It takes more power. Well, there has to be rewritten a little bit because this is after the war. Rewrite it to fit before the war. So this is basically the shocking news on television. And again, this is a kind of exposition, but she's basically watching television and watching the UN going on how to basically rescue the planet. And this could also be a place for backstory about the asteroid impact and the consequences. Again, exposition, but we can package it into a real world situation. Okay. So that's this. Then we continue here. So we have the personalized medicine, we have the employee search portal. So also we have the Gosplan supercomputer. So assigning your, I don't know, weekly food package or something like that. And we could just mention it. I mean, we don't have to have a whole story around it. Here, the story is a little bit relating to World on a Wire, it originally says. That is something we could probably not mention directly, but we can mention, for example, okay, that for her it's just normal situation on the world. So instead of everyone going to the grocery store, she fills out certain, I don't know, her weight, her taste or something like that, and the computer then develops you a perfect diet or a perfect thing, and then she gets her package. But maybe there's also some black market going on. Just implying that it is not like a perfect system. So, for example, she picks up a package with her weekly groceries, and I don't know. We can mention this optimized to her. I don't know, to her weight and lifestyle. But she weighs an apple in her hand, and that could be a reference to the perfect apple. We have perfect vegetable. I think we mentioned it somewhere later. Here. And on the apple, there could be a little ad. So we were here. I don't know, it's perfect in any way, but today she wants, I don't know, eat cheese, eat cheese for breakfast or something like that. Or this week, but this week she wants to eat cheese for breakfast. She it's a little bit of a trope, for example, in the movie The Island. That is also something where then it is imagined as a perfect system, but they are still trading food items with each other. So she meets her neighbor in the in the hallway or corridor in the hallway, also picking up groceries and maybe exchange with neighbor exchanging or trading apple for cheese, I don't know, and then room for small talk, and also room for additional characterization. I mean, less so of the neighbor, who probably will not again show up in the book, but about her, of course, or about news. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Of course, again, exposition, but part of the normal conversation. So this is the Gosplan supercomputer, the employee portal. Augmented reality, I think we can probably move later to when she's on the spaceship. Okay, we have this, we have personalized medicine, we have flashback. So let's skip this briefly. What do we have at the end? Well, the permanent space station. I mean, it's not that. I don't know. 80 years ago, space station. That would be a significant point, that we are having a space station now, or here. It doesn't really. It could be a characterization, really, again, of the attempt to build those colony ships. So maybe it is more a shipyard, and it's the first time. I mean, she left Earth here earlier, just when the war broke out, when they captured the factories, and then she signed up for the Venus mission. But when she returns, actually, maybe we should show the progress that is really going on, and that they are really progressing, that she looks at Earth and that she sees a shipyard. With the colony ship, or with the first parts of the colony ship in construction. And she sees Earth here, maybe research what can you see from Earth, from orbit, regarding, for example, climate change, wars, etc. So what can she actually see? And this is to show the progress between her leaving Earth for Venus and her return. I mean, it is a few years. So this could be also a loudspeaker. Something like "Welcome to the name," and maybe some religious name, Angel One or something like that. For we are the chosen guardians of the sky. Let us in this fight over crumb while we aim for the stars. Something like that. Just a propaganda through the loudspeakers when she docks and enters the space station. And already we have characterized the whole attitude of the church and how they see basically Earth. That is just okay. They're they're down there and they're fighting, but we are up here. So there's also the firewall and the self-destructive information. That is still, for myself, a little bit unclear how we actually run the plot. So she's and why she couldn't like transmit the information from the spaceship. So maybe this is a to-do. Why can't she transmit the information directly from the spaceship? What about satellites? A little bit too convenient would be if you just say, okay, the communicator is not working. But maybe the communication satellites are in control of Church of Tomorrow. So maybe they have taken over space and space communication. We could add where do they get their raw materials from. So maybe there's some sort of asteroid mining going on. Then the question is, okay, so maybe she keeps sending messages, but they are retracted. Maybe she encodes a message so that I mean the person she is meeting on the space station already knows, or something like that. Encryption, etc. Maybe the specialist she is meeting already knows. So that is all coming here from those. Self-destructive information. I think we won't be able to include this because this would imply that she has access actually to the web. Yeah, but the real question is, let's say if they all control the satellites, why can't she still use some other methods of communication, radio waves or something like that on Earth that is receiving the message? Or maybe Solar Plus does receive the message. That is the question. Okay, so what else did we have with technologies? Well, the whole thing about the Battle Royale show. And we had that, we had this. Do we have anything here? No, at the end there's just philosophical stuff. Okay, then here. Okay, yeah. So this one we will do next time. I will use the remaining time for today to sift through another range of ideas that we could use. So spaceship around Venus, yes, we will have that. And I mean, here the whole thing about robot rights, augmented reality, that would be the core about, okay, basically alien rights. So basically she studies the, clouds of Venus, and through studying the data itself becomes a program. So usually, I mean, this is something like in the old days of computer programming, there wasn't a very strict differentiation between data and program, and you could easily stumble into a data block and execute this as code. And this was basically a form of hacking or so. You feed the program a certain type of input data, and something goes wrong while during normal operation of the program, and then it goes beyond the normal range of where the program code lies and executes data. And because you have fed data to the program, you suddenly have full control, not just over the data you're feeding the program, but also how the program works. Questionable, we would have to, or there would have to be a bug. Have to be a malfunction. I mean, in modern systems, you have really that split between data and, but even then, you would have sometimes a compiler within the program that executes, or that reads data and executes this as a program. So this is also something. Yeah. So, and that data becomes self-conscious through the brain implant. It's a little bit science has to be thought out here better, but that is the core idea. I mean, that's how hacking basically works. Well, one form of hacking. So what else do we have here? Okay, she gets the whole thing about the license. We can do that way because she gains her thing at the doctor. And here we have the whole thing about the lack of astronauts. And here we actually have to put it here. So job interviews. Space lasers. Okay, what else do we have? So here we have, okay, looking for life after the Mars mission failed. Instead of sending up specialists, they just sent 1 or 2 people up there and upload brains to the station, depending on the needed skill. I mean, that is the core idea. It belongs to where she applies. Let's just put it here. So what other ideas do we have? Let's just first clean that up. So then Venus has an Earth-like gravity, actually, yeah. So this is when we describe the describe Venus atmosphere. So math is 9, so why Venus, why not Saturn, etc. So we basically have to explain why this mission explain why mission to Venus is relevant for tomorrow. So is it a base? Is it about resources? About resources. So well, this is a conversation I had with someone. It's always good to reflect your ideas. So here's life on Venus. So the question is, okay, is there life? Okay, this also has to be copied here. And so, and this is can only send a few people there. Budget reasons. Oh, that is also an explanation here. So, and then the question is, of course, that's a good question. Why does it have to be on Venus, the whole thing? That is a good question, but it fits into, I mean, it puts the, I mean, it is interesting, of course, and it puts the protagonist away from Earth. So Earth can develop, so there's a time lapse. And the idea is that you can confront her with a number of space technologies, basically. Also, the advantages in terms of writing, okay, I don't have to write like 10 people or so. Right, and I also had some ideas about back then about how it all would work together. So it was more about terraforming. So that could also be an idea. Let's put it here. Is it about terraforming, or is it about climate research? Maybe she has to gather some data on climate simply for normal operation, and that is, of course, some information that that Solar Plus wants for their own arguments. So that could be a plot point here. Solar Plus wants that information, but Church of Tomorrow blocks it. So maybe there is some, she is under surveillance, basically. Plus and maybe there is a connection. So maybe there is a connection with Solar Plus she is not aware of. I mean, they basically want to sabotage the effort of the Church of Tomorrow. Okay, so what other ideas do we have? That is a lot about writing. Yeah, there's a lot of ideas. So maybe we'll go step by step here. So she feels responsible for her failure, has a chance to clean it up. Well, she has to, that I think I will change. She doesn't like clean it up, but she is able to work again. And we basically have that here. Well, not what happened on Mars, but she can regain a career. So, well, I just call him Jake, neuroscience and computer specialist. We don't need other characters right now. And this is here on the last one. Question is, do we want to introduce a character on the last in the last chapter? Yeah, right. So what technologies are discovered on Earth? We have that is done. So we need some characters to she interacts with both factions. Well, we basically have that. And here we had some issues. Okay, how can someone incompetent go to space? That would be something solved with the brain implant. Then there must be some time pressure. Again, it depends on why she's going on that mission. The ongoing conflicts on Earth, maybe. Depends on why she is going on the mission. And she must be a specialist to go there. So that's something we haven't explained yet. Okay, to do what is her speciality. This is something we need to explain at least when she's back on Earth. Maybe even earlier. Maybe already here. To do, he must be a specialist. So how can someone incompetent go to space? I think this belongs to the first one. The ideas wouldn't be that she's incompetent, but that she has a medium level of competency, but she's overconfident. So time pressure, that's then here. So space tourism or something like that. The original idea was that she's incompetent and basically she is a character that the reader can easily identify with. But I've dropped that. So she is competent. Question is, why did the Mars mission fail? This one we need to answer here in the committee. And what else do we got? Was a sabotage? Why does she lose confidence? Right, we had that. I think we had that already discussed, yeah. So this is the whole issue with the committee here. Could be an own movie. So this is again about the character, what motivates her, why did she lose confidence, etc., etc. Then what is her personality? We have to also do that. I mean, what is her life motivation? What drives her? So this is a lot. Okay, this is something for next time. We can finish this then next time. There are still some usable ideas. Some of it is related to general writing. And some things we already have. Here, for example, have people physically move when talking or thinking instead of just ba 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 ba. This is a general thing. Then also we could put this into the backstory. So this is just general writing, interspersed dialogue with exposition. Well, that's the whole thing about the idea, about the ads. That's nothing. That's nothing. So this is the question: how does the consciousness on Venus work? I haven't decided yet. Maybe a plant network, but there are no plants on Venus, so there's still some things to figure out. So chord scene, I have to check it first. Yeah, or don't overwhelm the reader in the first 5 pages. Take it slow. Yeah, for example, don't add new technologies or something like that. Plot point, implant malfunction, then the real person wakes up. How do people report multiple personalities? Then that is about Joss Whedon's work. Here, for example, he says, okay, I tend to write about people who are helpless or out of control who then regain or retake control. It's just an idea. Okay, some background about the atmosphere. You could put here into Venus. Describe the atmosphere. And here, how long was Venus habitable? That is also something to go here. Maybe in the next, but we'll see. And supercomputer that can predict the future and has to be convinced to live in a linear time. That's just, well, that's I think a different novel. Ticking time clock. Well, we could add this to backstory. So that the technician died and she's stuck now with his thoughts. Could be, but I think that's for a different novel. Here, make the job easier for the reader. Move or more description for important characters. Some might not even need a name if they don't appear again. The neighbor or something doesn't need a backstory. Yeah, establish an expert whom the reader can turn to when ideas are discussed that are too far out. That's, for example, in movies also you have a historian also, and the hero then, oh, I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? Can you explain it to me in plain English? Okay. Thank you. Have a red herring villain who is innocent. Well, there's not really a villain, I think, in this book. I mean, it's just 8 different views how they think to fix the Earth. I mean, it is more if it's a detective or mystery story in regard of, okay, there's someone working against the hero, but that is not in this novel. It is not about the how, it is about the how, not the what. Well, ask lots of questions, keep suspense, don't explain, early payoff. Yeah, so that is the whole thing about not explaining what happened with the asteroid, not explaining what's going on with the implant, etc. This is more a philosophical one, more like Life in a Wire, that she's a character in a book. Well, she is a character in the book, but it's again a different novel, all about free will, etc. Always ask why a character acts like that. That is important. So it should be a lived-in universe. Describe the history since today. I think we are doing that. Factions of different strength on Earth. Yeah, we did that. So on a transition period, when you activate the implant, we could add this also somewhere. So maybe she has some special condition, a special brain, but we might not need this, I think. And what other ideas do we have? Infinity filter rules that limit the world. Well, it's a hard science fiction book. Evil person turns around, helps at the end. Yeah, basically, in a way, the protagonist is, if you look at it this way, is the villain that turns around. So maybe we'll add this as a So Catherine is the evil person or part of an evil company or something like that. And I mean, everyone is a hero in their own story. That is the problem or point. So then something about asteroids and life that belongs here. And something about anthropological principle. So why aren't there aliens out there? Fermi paradox. Cancer patient. Well, it's not part of this story. Use situations as a way for characters to reflect upon themselves. I think we're doing that a lot, but let's just add it as a general check. User stories in writing, the emotional moment you build up to that. So I think that's still something we need to do. I mean, I described that in some earlier workshops that I said, okay, start with the emotional moment, and then once you have that, build your book around that. So then we have you can only notice details when your brain cannot resolve the sense data in higher concept. That's a general thing. I could add how that brain implant works. Yeah, belongs here. That's German. That moment I had a German idea. Okay, so how can someone incompetent go to space? We have fixed that. We have fixed that as well. That is something else. Infinity filter rules that limit the world. Well, that goes into backstory or rules of the book. Basically, let's just put here rules of the book. So only one gets free will. That's a different novel. Relate to the current world. Reader has to be able to imagine themselves in that situation. She talks with someone severely depressed. She lives in someone else's mind. Find a she writes a diary. Yeah. Okay, I add this one. Well, let's see. Yeah. Well, I just added. You need to research opposing views for the hero to have an opponent. Yeah, there are not really heroes in that universe, I think. Well, maybe in that universe, but not in the story. It is just life happening. Yeah. So again, this is a different one. This is a possible title for that other novel. I have to check those different videos. Those are what is noir, but I think this isn't a noir novel, so it doesn't fit there. Computer speech, I have to check. Intro, I have to check. Implant malfunction, then no. How do people report multiple personalities? And this is just a general thing. Yeah, this is just about him. Okay, I think this is. I will check those videos separate. But again, I think ideas we have now enough. So that is done. Backstory is just for exposition or just general checking of our writing style. This has to be expanded to have really a guideline. Okay, it is hard science fiction. It plays in this time period. We use this and this narration style. So maybe for next time, for tomorrow, we will work on this one to create really a guideline for the book and how the book should be written. Basically, a rule book for myself. In that regard, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, if you want to comment on something I wrote, or if you have an own story to discuss, let me know. Or if you have a general question about publishing, about editing, just let me know. In that regard, thank you for watching, and we see us tomorrow. So every day, 1 hour around, or maybe a little bit longer, about writing. In that regard, have a nice evening, afternoon, or week. Bye. Zip. Bye.